Welcome, everyone, to Awakening Spiritual Intelligence. Today's theme is immanence and embodiment. I'm Pauline. I'll be our tech host today. And with that, I will hand it over to Yosi Amram.
Thank you. Thank you, Pauline. Excited to be here with you and with you all. Welcome, welcome, friends, all these divine emanations and fellow journeyers on the path. So let's actually take a look around and see and notice where we could see the divine. Perhaps you noticed it this morning as you watched the sunrise, like I did, walking on the beach. That was a divine view, beauty. And perhaps you can notice the life force and the light radiating out of the faces of the other people in the gallery view. Like I'm seeing some divine radiance coming through these vehicles, these channels, these bodies, these human beings. But chances, if you're like most of us humans, the hardest place to find the divine is in ourselves, in yourselves. So, does that really make sense? So, the Kotzker Rebbe was a Hasidic rabbi from the town of Kotzker. Yeah, what he says is, where does God dwell? Wherever you let them in. So, really, there's no place that the divine can be absent. So, otherwise, we're putting a limit on the divine, whether you call it source, God, goddess, or simply the one. And after all, there is only one, whether it's one cosmos, one reality, even if each of us says, oh, I have my reality, you have your reality, but all those realities are really part of one reality. It's just we have different ways of experiencing it. And it's all part of the one universe we're living in, or even if you like and you believe in the theory of the multiverse, our universe is one universe in the multiverse that came into being out of one grand explosion, and the moment of inflation, these multiverses were formed. But there's still really only one multiverse, and we are part of it. And our bodies, our Earth, our solar system, our galaxy, all of that is in within that one. So it's all an emanation or an expression of that one, much like every photon, as every ray of sunlight is an emanation of the sun. There can't be a photon of light on this planet Earth that is not ultimately really that we're seeing being an expression of the light emanating from our sun. So what that all means, I mean, this all sounds very theoretical and abstract, and hopefully we'll bring it down to earth and practice some of this. But I think this means that our human bodies and all that is flowing through them, whether it's pleasure, pain, emotions, thoughts, fluids, are part of that one, part of the expression of that one, and both for ourselves and everybody else. And whether you believe that there's a personal God or in the holy grail of physics, which is looking for the grand unified theory, the unified field theory, which looking for a single equation that gave rise and explains everything. So even materialist physicists like my son are looking for that underlying principle that governs and gives rise to all of reality. It might be hidden through many layers, like there's that fundamental principle and it gives rise to elementary particles, quarks and photons and whatever, and then atoms and then molecules, and then those molecules combine through chemistry, and then they give rise to biology and sociology and and psychology, and then we have our human experience. But when you peel down through the different layers and you go deeper and deeper, there's going to be one source, one underlying governing principle, and that gives rise to everything, and essentially you might say rules everything. So I'm just saying that's just kind of simple logic. You don't need to resort to religion or spirituality. So, but classically, the spiritual traditions, the religions, if you will, or the spiritual traditions, speak of the divine as both being transcendent and immanent. And so it means the transcendent aspect means it's not one thing that we can grasp and put a boundary around and say, okay, this is the divine, and we put it in a box and define it and put a limit on it. No, it's transcendent. It transcends any limitations, any defined definition that tries to put it in a box. So that's why we call it, it's a mystery. But that transcendent mystery is also immanent. We can't exclude it from even the smallest thing, the smallest atom, microatom, elementary particle, a feeling, a place, a human being. So the divine is transcendent, can't be put in a box, and it can't be excluded from any box or any human being, including ourselves. So I know it's hard to kind of internalize that and embody it, but that just kind of um, what this all means. So far, I'm really, as I said, speaking in very general, theoretical, philosophical, metaphysical terms, but I'm hoping that throughout this session today, we will bring it down to earth and ground this in our fleshy human body. After all, I am interested, I don't know about you, in bringing heaven down to earth so we as human beings can live in heaven on earth in this body in this lifetime. That's what we're here for. Whatever happens afterwards is great, and we'll just stay open and curious. But we're here, we might as well bring heaven down to earth and enjoy it. So, if we truly contemplate and understand this concept of oneness, it helps us dispel one of the most problematic myths in our modern culture, which is the split between spirit and the flesh, between the earthly body made of flesh and spirit, which we think of as something otherworldly, which resides in the heavens. And this dichotomy has both theological, like from religious point of view, and philosophical roots. In the philosophical traditions, David Hume, a philosopher, kind of divided the human being in half and said, oh, we have thoughts, we have mind, we have consciousness, and then we have body. And it's never been clear how we put these two things together. Like there's the ghost and then there's the machine. And but we feel this tension, this division within ourselves, because when then we think that those two are at war. There's an inner war that many spiritual seekers and other human beings experience because we think we have our mind, our consciousness, we have our bodies, and because our body is earthly and maybe messy and dirty or whatever, then we try and beat it into shape. So I think that's not so much fun, if I dare say so. So let's look at some of this. So the church, through might say the body is sin. And from science, we might say the body is a machine. And the commercial advertising business says the body is business. But the body says, I am a fiesta. So, but can you feel the tension between what the church wants us to do, so to speak, versus what the body wants? It's just to enjoy and celebrate life in an embodied way. And I'm not talking about indulgent. indulgence and eating all the gluten and sugar you want, which the body might want to do. But as we integrate consciousness and our spirit with the body, then they come into harmony and balance, and we can enjoy and celebrate the body, but do it in a way that's conscious and is good for our well-being and health um, over the long run. So we can then enjoy and celebrate life in an embodied world way. And again, every moment, every experience, like it or not, pleasure or pain, is really an expression of life force. Uh, so it has the potential to reveal that life force, which is the divine spark, the divine life that surrounds and permeates it all. So the word spirit really comes from Latin, which is spiritus, which means the animating breath of life or the life force. So our body, every lived experience is an expression of life force. So if we go into its essence, into its core, what we discover is fundamentally energy and aliveness. Whether that's pain or pleasure or joy or sadness, anger, anxiety, you know, sexuality. I mean, it's all made of life force and consciousness, really. So we just need to open and receive it and unpack it to enter its depth so it can reveal that mystery, that power, that energy of life. So let's look at some other wise people and sources. The Upanishads, again, thousands of years ago, was written. To darkness are they doomed who worship only the body, and to greater darkness they who worship only the spirit. They who worship both the body and the spirit, by the body overcome death, and by the spirit achieve immortality. So this is an ancient spiritual tradition coming from the East that is rejecting this, choose an ascetic life that beats the body, or, vice versa, indulges the body. Another modern teacher, Gabriel Roth, who was a dance teacher, developed this system called Five Rhythms. Some of you may have know it. But she says, in the marriage of flesh and spirit, divorce is impossible. But that doesn't mean the marriage is necessarily happy or successful. A brochure I saw at chiropractor's office says, if you wear out your body, where are you going to live? So the bottom line, we need both, and we need to integrate and unify them to attain some sense of inner wholeness. Now, in fact, if you actually read this, what scripture says, the Hebrew scripture at least, coming through the Jewish tradition and at the root of Christianity, although it's been distorted as the story has been told, it says, and through my flesh I shall know God. So this is from the book of Job. So what does this all mean? And let's see what some wise people have said. And as you know, some of you, I did some research to operationalize what is this thing called spiritual intelligence, which is a concept I ran across doing my doctoral studies. But it was coined by a woman called Dana Zohar. Well, before I came on the scene, I was familiar with the concept of emotional intelligence, but I was curious, is there a parallel here? And I wanted to really study and understand what it is and how to measure it. So part of what I did is I interviewed 71 teachers across all the world's traditions, from Buddhism, Hinduism, uh, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Taoism, and earth-based traditions, and had multiple teachers from each tradition and how their spirituality affected their lives and how they embodied their spiritual ideals in daily life. So, from these interviews, I developed this theory and these 22 qualities, universal qualities that stem from five domains. But, so here I'm gonna cite some of the things they said that some of the themes that came through. So when I'm in a challenging situation at work, like trying to solve a tough problem, I try to be aware of what's going on in my body. What is the tightness in my neck telling me? What about the way my breathing has changed? I can reconnect to my power and my strength first by contacting myself as an enfleshed, living, and breathing thing. The answers are nowhere to be found outside myself. Finding them always starts with reconnecting with myself in my grounded, embodied presence. So, see right now if you can connect to yourself in this grounded, embodied presence, sensing your breathing, your heartbeat, the verticality of your spine. The spine, as I like to call it, is the information superhighway, the central channel that connects our crown top of our head, pointing at the heavenly skies, and our feet rooted in the earth. So let's look at it what another person said. I can't imagine a universe where some parts of it are divine and other parts aren't. It just doesn't make sense to me. It would be putting a limit on God. So I believe that there is nothing that isn't divine, that the very substance that we are made of is divinity. And if I want to be in touch with the divine, all I have to do is be in touch with what is. Of course, that includes horrifying things like jealousy, financial problems, and issues with relationships, even bodily fluids, all the stuff of being human. This means I don't need to reject or run away from anything. It empowers me to turn toward life and whatever life brings. Turning toward life. And it's in life that we can discover our life force, our spirit. So notice how life is showing up right now. Another person said, a key practice for me is finding God in all things, including my body, my pain, and my so-called negative emotions. And when I open to whatever is within me and treat it with reverence, then even the negative is experienced as beautiful and sacred. I wonder how many of you have had the experience of grief, deep, profound grief, and had that open up into space, into some kind of mystery or some kind of beautiful thing. Because that grief is really coming through only because there's deep love of something that we lost. And that grief clears us out. And then we see the beauty, the mystery of what's the underlying ground of our being. So Carla McLaren, which is a therapist who wrote this book on the language of the emotions, with the help of your emotions, you can learn to focus and work honorably with the incredible information inside each of your feeling states. You can become intimately connected to the source of your intelligence. That's an interesting phrase, the source of your intelligence. I'll let you contemplate that. I'm not intelligent enough to unpack it very quickly. Um, but the point I think that Carla, and she has a whole book, is she unpacks every emotion and the wisdom and the intelligence that it has. So let's take a few things that most of us don't like so much to experience. For example, anger. So what might anger be telling us or helping us? I mean, after all, whether you believe in divine God or creationism or evolution or whatever it is, anger as an emotion evolved for some reason. And it's in humans and it's in the animal kingdom and so on. So what's the intelligence of anger? What's its wisdom? And usually we're angry when something that we value is threatened, our boundaries are crossed. And it activates our bodies and our energy to, set some boundaries. And if we need to fight for what we need to protect, whether it's our life or the life of our children or someone we love, Mama Bear gets angry if her cubs are threatened. So anger has a lot of intelligence and energy and life force in it. We need to, of course, be conscious in how we use that energy and not act it out. So being angry just means something is being threatened, and then we need to be skillful to assert our boundaries in a healthy way, not necessarily punch someone and or kill someone or throw a shoe at someone or whatever it is that people do when they're angry in a non-conscious way. But the point is, if we connect to it and ask what's the message, then we actually get regulated and we can have a sense of equanimity and that it's okay that I feel this anger. There's nothing, doesn't say anything bad about the fact that I'm angry now. It's just more inviting me to ask what would be skillful and wise in terms of how I deal with this anger and express it. Another emotion maybe most of us don't like is sadness or grief. I mentioned grief, but essentially sadness is telling us or grief that something that we love, that valued, that is precious is lost or is gone. And so it's inviting us to honor its value. I mean, after all, you wouldn't want to be indifferent when something or someone you love is gone from your life. So that's a way of honoring that love, that value. And as we honor it and feel the grief and feel the loss, then we start to let go. And as we let go, we create the space to invite something else to enter. And that's the way every, I think T.S. Eliot has this poem about every end is a beginning, and every beginning is an end. And each breath, there's a micro death at the end of the breath and a new life, a new breath. And it just kind of dances back and forth. We let go and something new enters. Another emotion that many of us don't like so much is anxiety. So this last week, I was feeling anxious myself. I have a TEDx talk I'm giving next Friday and trying to memorize it and feel a lot of internal pressure to do well and etc. Spend a lot of time and money and so on. So I was feeling anxious about it and everything else that is on my plate at the moment. So I was talking to a friend of mine who's also a therapist, and she was helping me, and I was like, what's your level of anxiety? And it started out on the scale of 0 to 10. Those of you who are therapists or have done work with people, one way to help is to kind of calibrate things and say, oh, on the scale of 0 to 10, what is it? It was about 4 to 5. And we used this technique. I won't get into it. And as I worked with her in this, it went down to about 1. It wasn't 0. And she asked me, do you want to keep going and see if you can get it to 0? And I was like, no, I don't want to get it to 0. Some anxiety is good. It's motivating me. I need to practice my TEDx talk. I need to memorize it. And so the anxiety is just kind of motivational and energizing. It says I need to do something to deal with the situation. So, so the point is, everything has a message, has a wisdom. I just took a few examples of things we tend to resist or try to avoid. So let's listen to what a wiser person you might have heard of, Rumi, in a poem he wrote called The Guest House. So this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the sham, the malice, meet them all at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So you might ask who is the beyond and who is the guide, but without getting too much into that, just feel into the invitation of inviting them all in, being grateful for whoever comes. Each has a wisdom. Okay, so let's see if we can put some of this into practice. We're gonna, for those of you brave souls who are willing to play with us and play with each other, we're gonna invite you to join a breakout room with in a dyad with one other person. And Pauline and I are going to demo the exercise. I hope you could stick around and do it. I think it will be transformative. Most in the past, we've had some good experiences and with people. So, and if you can't, you could then do this with a friend or a partner on your own. But if you have the time, I invite you to stick around. So, Pauline, thanks for joining me.
Yes, I'm looking forward to demoing the exercise. I think it's going to be really meaningful and connective. And I do have the instructions written here. I'll share my screen. And then also, when you go into the breakouts, you'll have Yosi's voice guiding you through each step, but I'll also put in the chat the different steps so you can reference that as well. There's some specific wording for the questions. So first, when you get into the room with your partner, you'll introduce yourselves for about a minute each. And again, Yosi will tell you when it's been a minute, when it's time to switch. And then we'll move into repeating questions. So there are basically three questions, but you just say thank you after each one, after each answer. And then whoever's asking the questions is going to repeat those for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to switch roles. So the other person will ask the questions for another 3 minutes. So, Yosi, shall we go ahead and demonstrate these
Yeah,
questions?
so just to be clear, and you'll see this again in a moment, but basically you're going to ask these three questions, A, B, C, D in sequence, and then loop back to A. So may I ask you?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So tell me a place the divine is absent.
The divine is absent where there's sickness.
Thank you. And what is it like when you allow yourself to open to that place with gentle awareness?
I notice a sense of compassion and almost a resting more deeply into my body.
Thank you. And what is it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
I notice I'm more receptive to some sadness, and that feels like a gentle opening and like a resting into the earth.
Thank you. Tell me a place the divine is absent.
The divine is absent in places with war and violence.
Thank you. And what is it like when you allow yourself to open that place with gentle awareness?
I notice a deep heartache and a longing for peace.
Thank you. And what is it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
I notice my heart is opening a bit more. There's tenderness, there's compassion, and some pain. And I feel I can be present with it.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe you get the idea.
So 3 minutes, those questions with the same roles, Yossi being the questioner, me being the answerer. And then Yossi's voice will come on and say, it's time to switch roles. So then I would be the one asking you the questions. Do you want to walk through that, Yossi?
Um,
You ready to answer?
okay, sure.
Okay. Tell me a place the divine is absent.
The tension in my neck and throat right now.
Thank you. And what is it like when you allow yourself to open to that place with gentle awareness?
Things soften, even though the tension is there. My body feels more integrated and whole. I feel grounded. I feel the verticality of my body. And there's a grounded strength and presence within or holding the tension.
Thank you. And what is it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
I have an inner smile and I become more aware of the space above my head, and the verticality of the body connecting the space above me and through my feet into the floor below. And there's more light, like just things feel like there's a hidden light. Everything is in this field of light, including the tension.
Thank you. Shall we pretend that was 3 minutes?
Yeah.
So otherwise I would have kept asking the same questions. Tell me a place the divine is absent. But we will move on for the sake of the demo. And next, Yosi, will you tell us what's next?
Okay. So next, while you're in the breakout room, I will lead us all in a guided meditation that will open up our awareness and maybe give us more of a sense of this connection, how our verticality, as I put in one of the emails, human beings are relatively unique in the animal kingdom in that we are vertical and our spines are vertical, and the spine is the central channel, which is talked about in many traditions, and whether it's yoga or Taoism, etc., as the central channel that connects the crown top of the head with the heavenly skies, and then through the pelvis and the legs and the feet, rooting us into the earth. And it's what supports everything, our aliveness and our nervous system and our where and what we are. So we'll get a taste of that through the meditation. And so now one other thing, do we want to talk about it here now about this notion of receive, that to receive an experience with reverence, or we could talk about it in the next slide. I just wanted to highlight at that key word here.
Yeah, the receiving. I remember we talked about just the reason you chose that word, and I really enjoyed what you shared about the meaning behind it.
Yeah, so as going back to that Kotzker Rebbe, he says, where's God? Wherever you let them in. So we have to receive things. We need to we allow. I mean, there's gradations of openness. We can allow things to be what they are. We can open to them, and then we can receive them. So, for example, um, I'm open to the moon. I allow the moon to be as it is. Well, the moon. And then I could be open to it. But then when I move into receiving the moon, it's like I'm inhaling it in. I'm letting it really affect me, permeate me. And I think about it as there's a gesture. It's kind of like putting our hands out to be in this receptive mode. And then it can really penetrate us and impact us. So we wanna relax and open, allow, and then move into this receptive state so that the divine can, I want to say enter us, but really it's a misnomer. The divine is already there. It's not that we can keep them out. Like I said earlier, you can't keep the divine out. It's omnipresent. But as we are tight, our awareness is tight, then we can't experience it. So by making this movement from opening, allowing, and receiving, then we can receive the message, receive the wisdom, receive it into our consciousness. And in Jewish mysticism, it's called Kabbalah, and you might have heard the term, but really Kabbalah, all it means in Hebrew is receiving. So the essence of Jewish mysticism in Kabbalah is entering the state of receptivity to let the divine in, to let the divine permeate us. And then we enter the state of oneness with it. And of course, we're always one with it. It's just we don't realize it. So I hope that that helps uh, explain why I'm using this word receive. And I think in partnerships, in couples, etc., I'm sure most of us have had the experience of being with someone who is receptive to us, that receives us, and how it changes the dynamic of that interaction when we feel received.
Yeah, just as you were speaking about the concept of receiving, the act of receiving, I felt my own nervous system soften. And I really appreciate how we start with allow and open. It's sort of a progression, is how I experience it, to then, after being open to something, then I can actually relax even more and let it in, let it permeate me.
And invited in the receiving, you can think of it like an inhale. You know, we inhale, we receive in the oxygen, we receive the life force. So we're actually, we're being receptive, and we're drawing it in through our inhale. Now, actually, when you get a shot with a syringe, etc., if we tighten up our muscles, or tighten against that puncture, it hurts a lot more. So what I do and what they advise to do is to visualize, and as they bring it in, to inhale it and receive it, and then our tissue softens, and then it goes much easier.
Hmm.
Now
Helpful,
this
thank
this
you.
this has many other metaphorical implications about being receptive, but I won't go there.
Yeah. Well, let us continue with the exercise demo because this is only halfway through. The
Okay.
meditation is our climactic element, and then we continue on.
I don't
So
know, but
after the meditation, you'll still be in the dyad with your dyad partner. And then we're going to move into a set of looping questions, but this is going to be a little different than the previous set because the format in the previous set was Yosi was asking me the same questions over and over again for 3 minutes. But this time, you're going to alternate back and forth between who's asking and who's answering with every round. So, would you like to ask first, Yosi?
sure. So tell me a place the divine is present.
The divine is present when I'm with my family.
Thank you. And what's it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
I feel a sense of warmth in my heart, and I feel belonging and love.
Thank you.
Tell me a place where the divine is present.
Everywhere.
Thank you. And what is it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
There's an expansion and the solution of the self. There's a luminosity, the mystery, kind of a space is shimmering and unfolding.
Thank you.
Tell me a place the divine is present.
The divine is present in nature.
Thank you. And what is it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
I notice a sense of aliveness and like a bubbling up of joy and awe at the beauty and wonder of our world.
Thank you.
Tell me a place the divine is present.
The divine is present in the space between us right now as I listen to your words.
Thank you. And what is it like when you receive that experience with reverence?
I want to bounce and jump around with joy and celebration.
Thank you.
Okay, is that good enough?
It is, and I'm just noticing, even for myself, it's a little harder to keep track of whose turn it is. Don't feel badly if you lose track of whose turn it is to ask. You'll improvise and it'll just be fine. But it's more, yeah, but back and forth. And I'll put the questions in the chat before you go into the breakouts. So if you are a visual person like me, you can scroll back in the chat history to actually see these words. But Yosi is going to also verbally explain each step, right? Yosi, you're gonna read the whole question before people go into this step, just to remind everyone.
Sure, sure. One thing that helps remember where you are is you're always alternating speaking. So, like if I'm asking Pauline, tell me a place the divine is present, then she talks. Then I'm silent. Then after she's done talking, I say thank you and ask the next question. What is it like? And then Pauline talks. Then I say thank you. Okay, then I'm silent. I finished the sequence. So now it's her turn to talk. And if she just heard thank you for the second time, then it's her turn to ask me. So you're always alternating talking, either asking a question, answering a question, or saying thank you. That sometimes helps me remember where am I in this loop.
Yeah, I guess for me, when I get to the last thank you, when there's no more question, then I know I'm done. And then
Yeah,
it's
and then it's
your
your
turn.
turn to ask.
Yeah. And then there's one final step for our breakout exercise. Oops. Okay. Open discussion amongst both of you. You get to chat and share what's alive for you now after doing this exercise. How was it? What did you experience? How are you feeling in your body? Anything else to add, or do you want to actually answer the question or have a little demo discussion? How was that for you, Yosi?
It was fun. It was lovely. It's yeah.
I'm feeling the joy. It's contagious when you talked about the bouncy feeling, I think it was, between us, or that you felt noticing the divinity and the words between us, the space between us. So I feel warm and I'm smiling.
Great.
So let's see if there are any questions about the actual format of the exercise. If there are practical things, we'll talk about that once I stop the recording. But just for any practical understandings about how to do the process, let me know or write in the chat. Feel free to unmute as well. And if you're watching the recording, just a reminder, you can always do this as a journal inquiry, or you can find a friend and do this together.
Pauline, can I clarify one thing?
Yes,
Excuse me.
please.
In the first question and in this question, tell me a place where the divine is absent or present. Am I looking through the lens of within myself, like my personal emotion or something? I'm like Yosi used the term of the tension in your neck or something like that. Or am I objectifying it and saying, okay, I look out in the world and see an abuse or see an issue, and I see the divine is absent in that. Is it more of an internal, introspective, or towards something outside of oneself?
I think the simple answer is yes. I think if you looked at the demo, Pauline mentioned, wars and violence, I think, and I mentioned, and she also mentioned sickness, or I mentioned my tension. So it could be either.
Okay.
And both are places we normally feel the divine hidden.
Okay.
But it was interesting because, as Pauline mentioned, wars or whatever. Well, what was your experience? Seemed like then you opened into the heartache and the compassion and the tenderness.
Yeah, and the way I approach the question is just what am I finding a hard time being with? What do I think is not okay? It could be something in my physical experience or when I'm experiencing the world. And Yosi, to answer your question, yes, I opened, and then when I received, it shifted how I was relating to it.
All right. Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Very helpful. Anyone
I
else?
just want to highlight, though, that when you then open and felt compassion and tenderness, to me, those are divine qualities.
Right. Yeah, it
So,
shifted in a way where I felt more of including all of it as divine. Yeah.
okay, so the exercise, when you add all up, takes about 35 minutes. So we can push through or suggest take a 3 to 4 minute
So
break.
let me actually pause the recording before we talk about
Uh,
practical logistics. But I think we're all set to see anyone who's watching the replay after the breakouts. Actually, no. This time we're going to keep the recording going for the meditation. So I'm going to edit out some parts of it, is really how it's going to work. Um, yes.
and we will begin with this guided meditation. Find a comfortable seated position, spine vertically aligned, supporting both relaxation and alertness, serving as a bridge, as an information superhighway that connects the crown top of the head, pointed at the heavenly skies, through the torso, the pelvic floor, the legs, and the feet, rooting into the center core of Mother Earth. And taking a few conscious breaths, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, relaxing the jaw on the exhale, relaxing the tongue, relaxing, letting the shoulders drop. And with each exhale, letting the body sink deeper into the earth, into the ground, into the floor, while remaining vertically upright. Letting whatever tension is not necessary go into the earth, composted. And now begin to draw in the breath from the earth, from the soil, through the soles of the feet, up the legs, down, up to the pelvic floor, pausing for a fraction of a second, and then exhaling back down. Then inhaling, drawing the energy, the support, the nourishment of the earth up to the belly level, the navel, and exhaling back down. And on the next inhale, drawing the breath, the energy further up to the solar plexus and diaphragm, exhaling back down. Inhaling in through the feet, the legs, the pelvis, the belly, the solar plexus, up to the heart, the chest, and exhaling back down. The next inhale, going further up into the throat, the neck, and now further up into the jaw, the face, the eyes, drawing the energy up, filling the skull, the brain, the entire head. And then further up to the crown top of the head. And continuing to breathe like that in your own pace, drawing in energy and support from the earth, nourishing the body. The body is made of all earth elements, over 70% water, like the surface of the earth, carbon, oxygen, other minerals, all of which Mother Earth provides us. Feeling the weight of the body as it sinks on the exhale and rises up, fills up with life force energy on the inhale. Feeling the weight of the body as it sinks. It's really the gravitational pull, the loving embrace of the earth, pulling us into her center, while at the same time supporting us on her surface skin through the ground, the building, the floor, the chair, keeping us in place as we are. Couple more breaths like this. And on the next inhale, as you draw the energy up to the crown top of the head, instead of exhaling down, exhale up towards the heavenly skies. The sky, the space above, mostly empty space, space that is permeated by visible and invisible light from billions upon trillions of galaxies and stars. And now reversing, drawing in energy, space, and light from above, drawing it down to the crown top of the head, filling the head up, and then on the exhale, releasing it back up, letting the head, the spine float up on the exhale. And then drawing the breath, the energy, the light further down into the neck, the throat, the shoulders. And exhale, release back up. And on the next inhale, drawing it further, filling up the arms, the forearms, the hands, the fingers, and releasing back up. Drawing the inhale from above, filling up the chest, and releasing. Drawing it further down through the diaphragm, the lower belly. And the next inhale going further down, filling the entire torso, the arms, the head, with energy, space, and light from the cosmic space above. And drawing the energy now into the pelvic floor, through the hip joints, into the upper legs, the thighs. And exhale, releasing back up. And drawing the energy, the light further down through the knees, the ankles, and now further down all the way into the feet, the toes, and releasing back up. So continuing like this for a couple more breaths at your own pace, drawing in space, energy, and light from the space above. Filling the body with light, energy, and space. This body that we said is made of earth elements is nothing but stardust, which in reality is light that has cooled down and congealed following the Big Bang. In the moments right after the Big Bang, the universe was way too hot. It was just energy and heat and light, but no particles, atoms, molecules could form. So the universe had to cool down for those to form. So really, these earth elements are stardust, which is nothing more than congealed light. So we're drawing light and space from above to feed this body made of space and light. The body itself, the atoms, the molecules, is 99.99% empty space itself. So drawing energy and light from above, releasing it, returning it back to the heavenly realms. And now on the next inhale, combine both streams, both flows, drawing in energy and light from above through the crown top of the head, as well as below from the earth through the feet, up the legs, and letting those streams combine and merge and intermingle in the chest around the heart area. And on the exhale, letting it circulate throughout the body. Drawing energy, light, support from above and below, and letting them intermingle, interpenetrate, merge in the heart and throughout the body. As you continue to breathe in from above and below, now on the exhale, send the energy after it's been mixed, combined, out the front of the body, the front of the chest, through the heart to the space in front. Drawing in from above, below, exhaling forward to whoever and whatever is in front. And on the next few breaths, exhaling through the back of the heart towards the back, sending this light, this energy, this goodness, this blessing to the back. Now switching and exhaling towards the right, through the right shoulder, right arm. Drawing in energy, support, and light from both below and above. Exhaling towards the right. And now exhaling towards the left, left arm, left shoulder. And continuing to draw in energy, light, and support from above, from the skies, the cosmic realm, as well as the earthly realm, and sending it out in all directions, sharing the energy, exhaling it out from the heart in all directions. Feeling the expansion of the chest in all four directions as you take full inhales. And then as it deflates in all directions and sending the energy out in all four directions. And you could just let it go and rest in being, let the breath follow naturally as you just drop in and rest in pure being, simplicity of I am. The immutable truth of I am. I am as I am, allowing things to flow as they are, noticing the dynamism of experience, of life is ever evolving, ever unfolding, moment to moment. Resting in being and ever becoming. You can hang out in this place as long as you wish. So gently and slowly, when ready, allowing the eyes to open and without going out or leaving, letting the light, the shapes, the colors come, just receiving them, receiving the colors, the light, the sensations, the sounds, the sound of these words, any temperature sensations in the body. So take a few deep breaths, allowing yourself to be as you are. If you need to move, wiggle the toes, the fingers.
Okay, welcome back from the breakouts, everyone, and from the break. Would love to hear anyone's experience or any shares. Feel free to chat, to write in the chat if you want me to read out anything as well.
Yeah, good to be with you. And I'm very grateful and impressed. We have some people in very different time zones. It's getting late. So in the UK, and maybe we have some people further east than the UK even. So, but I'm curious to hear if there are any questions or comments on what came up for you during the exercise, how it was to be with yourself, with your partner.
Well, thank you for giving us this opportunity. I want to say that this hour and a half just really made my day. And I feel much lighter and more joyful after doing this exercise and meditating. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm delighted to hear that. Lighter, huh? And
Mm.
what do you feel around your face now? What do you feel coming out?
I'm smiling.
Smiling. Okay. Does anybody see light coming out of her radiating? Does her face look more radiant? Okay. I'm not the only crazy one, hopefully. Okay. Thanks.
And thanks to my partner also, Declan.
Okay. Anybody else?
You know, Yoshi, when I saw the initial questions, I was like, well, the divine is ever present, it's everywhere. And yet, that's not the living reality when I really look at it in how I respond and react to things, particularly when I'm stuck in my own self absorption or judging others and things like that. So it was an interesting exercise to dig into that and realize that, you know, conceptually, yes, the divine is everywhere, but in my living that is there's a few, as Cherie said, a couple of wrinkles there, and so that was it was an interesting exercise. That
So what happened when you looked into the wrinkles, as you call them?
look, it's interesting that receiving with reverence, I found that difficult. You know, it was more about acceptance. I sort of like, okay, that's just the way it is, and maybe that's a passive way of dealing with the painful things that I see in the world and in myself. It's just acceptance. It's not in my control.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing another version of the reflection from Cherie was like, well, it moves me to do something, just like that emotion moves is in movare, to move me to want to understand, want to do something about it, and realizing that it's not just about letting life wash over you, but it's even in the things that are uncomfortable, they serve a purpose in bringing light into existence where there is dark, and bringing, you know, compassion where you see pain, and so all of it's necessary. So when I let it all in, there is an appreciation of the reason we live on this planet of pain, and there is I guess an acceptance of that too.
Yeah. So what are you experiencing now, Declan?
Well, I really went deep in the meditation, and you know, I think I zoned out a little, and then there was just that feeling of presence and feeling of love and connection, where we were speaking about where any two people gather, there is the opportunity for that, in that union together, in that connection of love. And so, you know, as you say, we choose our radiance, and so rather than choosing to constantly believe in or live out the pain, it is there, but you know, there is choice, and there's and so the feeling of lightness resonates with me. It feels like,
So right now you experience the lightness?
yeah, yeah. And it was a strange morning. There was a little, nothing seemed to be going. I just find myself like looping on social media and feeling like really shitty, and this has reset me today, that I feel a lot brighter about. I can actually shift that in the moment and just be present with others that are
Yeah.
shining light.
If I just can comment on something you said, sometimes, opening and receiving with reverence is not accessible for us. So what we notice is maybe some resistance or some trepidation.
Yeah.
But then can you open to receive the resistance with reverence? The resistance is just trying to protect you from something.
Mm.
So, that's part of the reality too. So we can't jump over that.
Mm.
So just feel the resistance, the tightness, and open to receive that. and see what happens. Just as an experiment.
Yeah, that's a nice message, because I can see at times I'm resistant even being around others who are angry, because it's I don't want to allow it in. I don't want it around me. So there's resistance, but that's self-protection as well. Um,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
judging.
Right. Anybody else?
I'd like to, well, thank Wendy. Wendy and I felt very safe and connected, and we are your Brits on the call. So we
Okay.
might express ourselves differently, and we might be thinking in a different emotional language sometimes, but it felt that we could really, I experienced this as incredibly helpful today. Um, it is nearly the end of the day. I'm quite an isolated person at the moment. I have a lot of caring and a lot of difficult things to try and work through. And this has just been a way of, I like what Declan's saying about appreciation. I think Wendy and I talked a lot about feeling quite okay with some messy things and some unclear things. Mm. Yeah. So thank you, uh,
Yeah.
Wendy in particular, but Auntie.
Yeah, I'm hearing some tenderness in your voice, some softness. I mean, with the difficult things. Can you notice that quality in your voice?
Yeah.
Mhm. So what's it like when you connect to the tenderness that's
It feels like I could use that voice with myself. And
Mhm.
I think that's what's made me unmute right now, because often I would say little. I attend Quaker meetings and I never minister. I do it all in my head.
Mhm.
But um, I was going to say that I find breathing hard. And so that can feel sometimes like I'm missing what I know is the benefit of it. But on this occasion, I,
Mhm.
I think I beat that. So
Mhm.
that was
Well,
it.
you found the courage to speak here, even though you're not usually. So notice how you're being received by, look, can you see the gallery view and just notice how people are receiving your words and receiving you?
Wow. These are lovely people. Thank you.
Huh? What do you see?
Well, I'm trying not to look at them.
Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
struggle with that online.
Uh-huh. That's okay. So just allow yourself to receive that. It's hard for me to look at all these people. Uh-huh.
There's a neurodivergent difference going on, but
Okay.
it's still a good thing.
It's a good thing. Okay. But I'm seeing a smile on your face. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you. Okay. What one more, perhaps?
I just want to say thank you as well. Um, it was a very deep meditation, Yosi. Very deep. I love the way from up and down and meeting in the middle. I have to say that the divine is absent part, just like Declan was saying. My first initial reaction was, well, divine is everywhere. But then when I asked again, I of course thought of war. And unfortunately, I come from Israel. I live now in Germany, just moved 10 days ago. And my system is so different here, but easily I can remember the scenes of the war. So yeah, the divine is absent there. So it was quite challenging to accept that and
Mhm.
receive that.
This apparent contradiction. A part of you believes the divine is everywhere, but then when you're confronted
Yeah,
with the reality of war, it's hard to see it there. And then And so now you have to reconcile this or work with this tension.
Yeah.
So what happens when you hold both sides of the tension? The divine is everywhere, and I can't see it in the midst of
Well,
war.
I was able to see it there
Oh, I see.
as
Okay.
well. But then, yeah, it's tricky. Just it's the shadow. It's very hard to experience the divine in the shadow.
Uh-huh. And what's it like now as you name that? The difficulty of experiencing the divine.
Yeah. I can feel like it's almost like it's the present. It's just awareness and allowing it's alchemizing it in a way.
Okay.
In my
Well,
body, I can feel that it's happening in my body. So
so alchemizing it, huh? Turning the lead into gold. So the heavy lead can start to turn.
exactly.
Hmm. Yeah. I see some hands on heart and nods.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for providing the space for this. Personally, it felt really healing and nice to be again in that space.
Thank you, Ariel. Yeah. Okay, I know it's late for many of you, and we're kind of at our time, so we'll just, I wish we could have stayed longer. I got carried away a little bit with the meditation myself, so it took a few extra moments. But maybe we can turn to our next event and just. So our next event is in February, which is just a few days after Valentine's Day here in the US. So just to honor that theme. Do you want to say a word, Pauline?
I'm actually just reading the chat again, and sorry, Pamela, if I didn't get the questions to you, but I see you asked. So I'll get them again, and I'll also post the questions in the YouTube, like underneath the YouTube in the comments. So let me do that so that people can feel free to use them after the meeting.
Yeah, I guess that maybe the chat starts over when we close the breakout rooms and it comes back. So there's a whole different thing. Yeah. But yeah, you're welcome to use them on your own with your friends. So
You're really great to be together today. Thank you. I had a wonderful time in my breakout. Just felt really connected and appreciating the shared intention to open more to and receive the divine.
in ourselves and each other. Imagine a world where we receive ourselves and each other with reverence. I don't know what would happen to the wars, but I think they'd be gone. But anyway, our next event again is on sacred love. And I think what it was the date? February 20th.
That's right, February 20th, another Friday, same time.
So between now and then, many best wishes and blessings, and thank you.